When I say DC, you say statehood. Y'all got that? Yeah. I want them over there to hear us. I want them over there to hear us, and I want the senator to hear us as well. Yeah. DC, statehood. DC, statehood.
Not a lot of people know about DC statehood and what it actually means for residents of Washington.
We don't have any senators. The District of Columbia has only me in the House, and I do not vote on the House floor.
No, I didn't know that.
No, I did not know.
I thought you guys were a state.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
America is literally unique on Earth in disenfranchising the people of its capital city and locking them out of their national legislature. Imagine if France told the people of Paris that they couldn't be represented. I mean, you'd have another French Revolution on your hands.
Keep on clapping if you care about voting rights. Keep on clapping if you care about DC statehood.
DC statehood is literally the most pressing civil rights issue of our lifetime.
51st state! 51st state!
The fight is really about becoming equal to other Americans.
Gentlewoman yield.
Home rule. I will not yield, sir. The District of Columbia has spent 206 years yielding. The people who would deny them the vote, I yield you no ground.
These are my activist one-on-one shoes. They're dress shoes, but they're also like shoes. This oil, it's called the Obama. Makes you talk like Obama, feel like Obama. All right, let's rock it. Anywhere that I go, I do not miss a beat to talk about Washington, D.C. When you grow up somewhere that you call home, there's an identity that you hold on to about this city. But all these people live here and come out their houses every day and look at a Capitol where they don't have representation.
What is 51 for 51?
51 for 51 is a statehood campaign focused on making DC the 51st state with 51 votes in the Senate. It's a Black youth-led organization by young Native Washingtonians who've been here but was raised without a vote.
How old are you, may I ask?
I am 23 years old. I just got my braces off and everything. I don't do heights, Demi.
No, you need to stay.
I'm trying to. My leg's shaking. I'm right here on the edge of the chair.
I'm born and raised in DC. I met Jamal at Marionberry Youth Leadership Program. When Jamal walked in the room, he had a bow tie on and a full-blown suit. In the summer, as like a 13, 14-year-old, it was odd, but it was like he's serious. When he spoke, he could relate to everyone. Everyone respected him, and you could feel that he truly cared what he was talking about. Jamal called me and said 51 for 51 was organizing around the statehood issue. We wanted to get young Native Washingtonians, especially Black and brown residents, to really describe the story of what it's like growing up in DC, wanting to advocate for DC.
We're committed to one goal and one mission, and what's that? Statehood. There we go.
We have to push those individuals, especially those Democrat senators who have not yet spoke on DC statehood, but we will not be silenced anymore. We will not be treated as second-class citizens, and we deserve to be a part of the political process.
Every year that I pay taxes, I just be like, really?
Really?
I'm gonna do this, and I don't get no say-so and nothing, and you know I got a lot of say-so.
This is all year. We're gonna get it done.
The founding fathers said, okay, we just fought a war, literally risked our own lives for the principle of no taxation without representation. So how do we balance them? James Madison, he says, look, whatever states cede the land for the national capital, they will, of course, figure out how these people have representation in the local legislature and in the Congress. But they don't. Maryland and Virginia cede the land for the national capital, and they create no mechanism for making sure the people that are in the district have representation in Congress.
DC is unlike every state that raises their own local taxes, write a budget, pass it, and then they send it up to Congress. And if Congress wants to, they can change it, they could flat out reject it. So we can pass laws all the time and we can't implement them. Congress gets to control everything.
The difference between DC and some of the other territories that don't have congressional representation or only have non-voting representation, so Guam, US Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, so they don't pay federal taxes. But this is the one place where you have taxation and a lack of representation.
I was raised up in this house.
We all were.
Yeah, me and my kids. It was 5 of us.
Give her the umbrella.
Let me see.
Hey, that.
This is Southeast, Ward 8. DC's most low-income ward, majority black population. Marion Barry, who is a mayor for life, and many other good people come out of Ward 8. The age of 16 changed my entire life. I always knew that I wanted to serve in some sort of way. At the age of 16, I got into the program to train young people around the importance of civic engagement. It was me in 10th grade. Growing up, like, my mom wasn't well off. She relied on many jobs and she didn't have access to a good health care.
I was a single mom. The school used to ask me, we need health records, we need health insurance cards, and I was like, I don't have any.
Thank you.
When President Obama made the call to call your representatives, call your senator, and tell them to vote for the Affordable Care Act, it was personal for me. I was like, an act that allowed me and my family to get health care, that I can advocate or have a voice or a vote on that. I felt left out of democracy, and that's where my fight for statehood came.
Because DC is a majority Black and brown place, it's easy to disenfranchise a group of people that have been disenfranchised for the entire history of this country.
There's no question that race is one of the principal concerns of people who are discussing governance of the District of Columbia.
You've got crappy schools. Your schools not only dropout factories, they're inmate factories.
Every argument that we've heard in this fight was all racist dog whistles around what this fight is truly about.
Yes, Wyoming is smaller than Washington by population, but Wyoming is a well-rounded, working-class state.
I have had enough of my colleagues' racist insinuations that somehow the people of Washington, D.C. are incapable or even unworthy of our democracy.
The tricky part politically is that it's all wrapped up with all of these other conservative versus liberal issues.
Democrats want to make Washington a state because they want 2 new Democratic senators in perpetuity.
It's not about the city. It's not about the people in the city. It's about a power grab.
Republicans say, well, it's a power grab. They're trying to unbalance a balanced political system. What's really happening is that Democrats are trying to better balance an unbalanced political system. It's just balanced in the favor of rural, predominantly white Republican jurisdictions today.
People sort of don't think about it as a voting rights issue, but it very much is. As our country becomes more and more diverse, that diversity is sort of unevenly spread across our country, but our democracy, specifically in the Senate, gives more power to smaller, whiter, redder states.
And Democrats say, look, one of the ways out of this structural imbalance is to back DC statehood.
The history of statehood is people petition for statehood and get admitted to the Union. Each one of the states seeking admission has faced arguments that it's somehow inferior. You know, some places they've said are too poor or they're too far away. Hawaii and Alaska, they're not contiguous. Texas was its own republic, so how can you admit a foreign country? in every case, the objections to statehood have been overcome because of the imperative of democratic representation.
When you hear those arguments that D.C. doesn't have real people that live there and there's just a bunch of diplomats and bureaucrats.
By far, the largest group of workers in the city are bureaucrats and other white-collar professionals.
Senators and congressmen, in fact, most of the time, get out of this city, go out to where the real people are at across our country and ask them what they think.
That's a threat to me. That's a threat to my mom. That's a threat to my family. It's offensive.
Hey, everybody, how we doing? What's up, everybody?
It ain't but one person there. Give me 100, baby.
I was actually quite surprised.
No, they was.
We've all grown up in Southeast besides my kids. We are all native Washingtonians.
My granddad lived right there on the corner.
You can still smell it a little bit from the Wonder Bear factory that was right across the street from here.
We stayed on the street, played hopscotch, double dutch, kickball.
You had the go-go scene, which was right up the road. We went to the nightclub up there, the Black Hole. Everybody ready? All right, listen up.
There's no such thing as a baby.
Listen up. Here we go. Couple things I want to say.
I think we all played a role in the statehood movement. You were like one of the founding fathers of the statehood movement.
Not necessarily a founding father, but I was probably 20 years out.
A great nephew.
A great nephew, yeah, because in the 90s, 93 was our first vote on statehood, and that was, the year you were born, yeah. That's how old this pin is on my shoulder, as old as you.
The important acknowledgement now, though, is that the D.C. statehood movement, while it's become kind of this populist issue in D.C., was really rooted in Black activism, right? That if it wasn't for the Free D.C. movement in the 60s or for the statehood convention in the 80s or, right, for the failed vote in the 90s or, right, that we wouldn't be at this moment.
Where we are today with Jamal and 51 for 51, the cycle is about full self-determination.
For the first time, we got it passed through the House and, a hair away from passage in the Senate. That's huge.
Is there actually a possibility now?
I think there is a possibility, but I still have doubt. Dems have a person just holding them up. But I do love the approach of this new generation and the fire that you all come with. I hope that 2021 is the end of us struggling for our full self-determination. But if this isn't, then we got to really...
I know that if it isn't.
All right.
That's going to be it. It's going to be the last generation.
Lawmakers have passed 30 bills to stop people from voting. As a 13-year-old and an activist, here's my question to elected officials. Why are you in office? Are you here for power or are you here to use your platform for good?
There are over 400 voter suppression laws happening in our country, including one of those right here in the District of Columbia, suppressing Black and brown people from their voter representation and their democracy. So we're going to preach democracy, then we must practice democracy. What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we want it?
Now.
51 for 51 was focused on building a national coalition that advocated for statehood, but specifically achieving it through 51 votes.
There's a number of volunteer-based organizations that have been in existence forever working on statehood. And then there are chapters of national organizations. League of Women Voters, for example, is huge. DC Vote has always been focusing on voting rights for the district.
What 51 for 51 is essentially doing is saying, Democrats, this is a national issue. It matters to you in California. It matters to you in Vermont. And so take a stand on it.
The idea was that during presidential elections, none of these presidential candidates are going to come to DC. Let's meet them where they're going.
We traveled across the entire country talking to presidential candidates.
Strategically, it was just very in your face.
We know that you support DC State, always have.
So we want to know if you support DC becoming the 51st state with 51 votes in the Senate.
That's right. Do you believe that 51 votes is enough to affirm full voting rights for the residents of Washington, D.C. and over 700,000 residents?
Yeah, I do.
51 for 51 did an amazing job of bird-dogging every single one of the presidential candidates.
We were trying to get Joe Biden to say he supported statehood outright.
Do you support DC becoming the 51st state with 51 votes in the Senate?
I have for the last 28 years.
51 votes in the Senate?
Yes.
The last time a piece of statehood legislation came up before Congress was a vote in the House of Representatives in 1993. Democrats were roughly split. About 150 Democrats voted for it, about 105 Democrats voted against it. Today, that's fundamentally different. Democrats have really unified behind DC statehood as a legitimate policy goal of the party.
I was therefore able to get this statehood bill passed in the House and to get a Senate hearing.
Is this what democracy looks like? This is what democracy looks like.
There are 3 bills going through Congress right now, all of them dealing with democracy repair. S1, HR 1, luckily they have the same number in both sides. HR 51, S51, again, we like that number. And HR 4, S4, which is the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. The 3 together really do, in fact, fix what has become wrong with our democracy and get us back closer to the ideals that everyone has a voice.
We're here because we believe in our democracy and we are willing to fight for it.
That's right. Are you ready to pass voting rights no matter what?
We have got to pass the For the People Act to ensure that our democracy works across the country. And then we have to follow it by passing S4, and most importantly, to me anyway, DC statehood through S51 to ensure that For the People is for all of the people, even out 700,000 of us who choose to live here in the District of Columbia.
Got buses coming in from everywhere, but Washington needed to be there big time because one of the biggest abuses of voter suppression is not having representation here in the District of Columbia. To have us fighting all over the world for democracy. We talk about democracy in Afghanistan and not talking about it in the district.
But we've got to figure out how to galvanize the consciousness of our nation. And my dad and mom taught us that it only takes a few good women and men to bring about change.
We cannot leave out the people of Washington, D.C. when we're talking about voting rights and voting representation. So that's what the power of this march is about. It's about demanding voting rights, but also demanding D.C. statehood and ensuring we're not leaving D.C. residents out of the fight for democracy.
The next and hopefully last generation to carry the torch of statehood, to send the message to America, the Senate, and the President. Our freedom will not be overlooked any longer.
That's right. To stand before the Capitol, a so-called beacon of democracy that was built on the back of enslaved people, to deny black and brown residents their right to vote. That's at its heart disenfranchisement. No peace. No peace.
What do we want? What do we want?
Now.
Protect your power.
Protect your power.
Protect your power.
Protect your power.
In the midst of all of this success, there is a furious backlash going on right now. Republican-controlled states are passing a slew of voter suppression legislation. And so HR 1, HR 51, if they're not passed, I worry that if we don't do it this time, we may not be able to do it in the near future.
The Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. What Congress cannot do is override the Constitution anytime it becomes inconvenient. The Constitution endures, and that is the fundamental premise of our democratic republic. And I fear that premise is being threatened by this legislation.
No, it's not.
All of those things that are raised as objections are actually not in the Constitution. The Constitution permits this, and the vision of representative government requires it.
We know that ending taxation without representation was a principle that led to the independence of our nation. And it's a glaring contradiction of our democracy. And we know the time to correct that wrong is now.
In my mind, this shouldn't be viewed as a partisan issue in any way. And with that, this hearing is now adjourned.
Thank you.
There you have it. I thought we were there. And to see that thing fall is just like, it's heartbreaking. It makes you realize who is really for your fight and who isn't. It's crushed. It crushed me.
We have a Democrat in office as our president that said that he supports it. We have full control of Congress at this point, and nothing happened.
I think what it said to a lot of people is that our democracy is structurally broken on so many levels.
Two years ago, I literally thought that it was the work of what we were doing in that moment that was going to achieve a statehood within that year, right? You know how hopeless it feels to sort of feel like you shifted the narrative on how people are talking about statehood. I thought we're going to get this shit done. Like we were closer than ever. And now we're back to square one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you want to know the one thing that I heard from every senator, even Democrats in Congress was, my residents aren't talking about it.
You always kind of see this one step forward, half step back. But 51 for 51 did achieve the narrative changing goals.
And I'll be honest, after 43 years, you know, Jamal, you joked about it, about me saying I'm over this thing. Sometimes it's hard. The question for folks like you in this generation and every succeeding generation, what are you going to do to build upon the foundation that has been laid?
It's a car right there. I was recently elected as president of the Young Democrats in DC, where I represent Democrats that are under the age of 36. I think this is the first time the mayor has ever sort of attended a Young Dems event, so I'm a bit nervous about that. It's showtime. How are you?
The mayor's in Raleigh, so I want to start transitioning these people downstairs for when she speaks.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Hello, beautiful.
Good to see
How
you.
are you?
Your pen's upside down.
Let's fix that.
Now we the right DC.
There he is.
Let's do one more.
Thank you so much. You're awesome job. Well, you know I'm trying hard. Yes, you are. And now I'm glad we got a little army of young people.
I want to introduce myself. My name is Jamal Holtz, and I serve as president of DC Young Democrats. In fact, the first Gen Z president of DC Young Democrats. This generation will be the last generation to have to experience what it means to not be a state. This generation will be the last generation that has to experience what it means to not have a vote in their democracy. Without further ado, I now want to give a round of applause for Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Well, thank you, Jamal. Good evening, Democrats. We are always going to fight for DC statehood. So I hope that the Young Democrats take very seriously your job of educating the electorate, but also preparing people to take my place. I am counting on you to take us to the next level.
I don't know, Mayor. You just increased my goal of running for mayor in less than 10 years now.
Welcome to DC. You know where you're at, the USA count. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you gon' act, or you gon' be right back? Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC. Chuck Brown, oh you don't know the sound? Well let me break it down. The G.O., the M.A. and B.O. See though, we've been pumping crank since an embryo, really though. We got those stars that spit on bars like BET wasn't birthed in our backyard. So our NEG, our essence in our backyard. And Junkyard got us all